thing I want to ask about, I don't know if this relates sort of directly, but you mentioned vets. I follow a lot of dog rescues online, like on X and places like that. And there's one I love in South Carolina that I donate to a lot. But I cannot tell you how many times a representative from that dog rescue will say, this account is impersonating me. Like if you see this, and maybe they change like one thing, like maybe it's an O that they change to a 0. Like they just make it different enough where if you're not paying attention, like you just said with the young people, if you're not really looking, you think it's that legitimate person who's asking for pledges. And
That's right.
to me, that's probably the most evil is when it's done to a worthy organization that's trying to help dogs or children or whoever that's trying to do something useful and helpful for a vulnerable animals or vulnerable children or whoever it is. And then these people just, they don't care. They will just jump in there and try to rip them off.
Every time there's a natural disaster or some big event, Americans are very, very generous. And it's awesome to be in a country where we have so many citizens willing to be so generous. But that said, the bad guy knows that. So he's going to sit there and set up every single solitary scam he can think of. He watches the news. And the news will say, hey, the Red Cross set up a new center. Dial this phone number or go to this website. He just gave me the pathway on what to do and how to emulate and fake it. So again, you have to get the word out there to get the donations, but conversely, you're exposing yourself to threats. And I'm sure after this podcast, the amount of scams and threats I'm going to get via email, phone numbers, and everything else is going to go up significantly. Wow. But it's just the nature of the beast, right? So with charities, it's the same way, unfortunately, right? When there's big events, everybody's paying attention, including the bad guys.
Yeah. Yeah, unbelievable. Well, Marc, I am so glad that you joined me today for such a timely, important, and I would say urgent topic. It's a topic that affects everyone, whether or not you have a business, as we discussed, whether you're retired, whether you're young, especially if you're young, apparently. And I have to say, I'm so glad that none of this existed when I was going through school, like no social media.
It did. It just wasn't as popular.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah. I'm just grateful. I mean, I won't even get into the downside of social media and the cyberbullying and all that, but I've always been very grateful that I wasn't directly, I mean, I think I'm grateful that I was old enough to, like, by the time all this stuff came around, have more discernment. I think when you're younger, you don't. And that definitely ties into what you just said earlier about the younger population being the most vulnerable, because you think you're invincible anyway. And now you add this on top of it and it's just a recipe for disaster.
I don't care. Click, 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 click.
Exactly. So Marc, I'm going to put all this in the show description, but let everybody know where they can find you, your website, where they can find out more about if they want to sign up for subscription, things like that.
Absolutely. So our website is redrabbitsec. That's SEC.com. And on there, you'll find a wealth of information plus a contact us. And it has our phone number on there as well. My email address is marc@redrabbitsec.com. Feel free to email me at any time, and I'll be happy to respond to you with any questions or concerns you might have. I do want to say with charities, we do a lot of charity work. In other words, we don't charge for a lot of different things. If there are certain exposures or hacks, if you will, breaches that they have. So we do a lot for charity. So we don't mind helping out. So even if it seems like a serious question, ask the question. You might be surprised by the end.